Hello, welcome to No Stone Unturned. I'm your host, Matt. This is a true crime podcast focusing on finding the truth. Good or bad, we're going to investigate each case to the fullest extent. Each season, I'll take you through a case of someone who has proclaimed their innocence. They provide the case, the court documents, and their side of the story. We find the truth. 63% of wrongful convictions involve misidentification. This case may be no different. My mission is to create a community of true crime investigators who can work together to find justice. Please join our Facebook group, No Stone Unturned Pod, for case documents and follow-up questions about the case. Of course, you can always reach out, email, Facebook, whatever. If you are in for a penny, then you are in for a pound. Prosecutor McElhenry began saying this in his opening statement. James Biggie Griffin, dressed head to toe in dark-colored clothing, got out of the passenger side of a dark car with dark tinted windows. He walked in from the car to the back gate of Carlos O'Kelly's restaurant. In the back door, where he confronted Bob Frazier at gunpoint, demanded Bob Frazier's money. When Bob Frazier stood up to get the money, James Griffin shot him, ran out the back door, leaving Bob to crumple to the floor. Back in the dark-colored car with dark tinted windows, where his brother waited for him, jumped in the passenger side and drove away. Because of his voluntary decisions and his voluntary act, James Griffin is here today, charged with conspiracy to rob Carlos O'Kelly's, attempted aggravated robbery, attempted murder in the second degree. The day has come to hold James Griffin responsible for his voluntary decisions and actions. The day has come. Monday will be 3 years to the day since Bob was shot inside Carlos O'Kelly's. 3 days since he was confined for the rest of his life. The law does not allow a verdict based on sympathy for Bob Frazier, but the law demands a verdict based on the instructions given to the judge and evidence presented. 3 men, 3 separate men, distinct individuals, 3 sets of eyes say that the car outside Carlos O'Kelly's, 3 men saw the passenger get out. Each and every one of these men has identified the passenger as Maurice Franklin. We know from evidence what happened when Maurice Franklin got inside Carlos O'Kelly's. We know from evidence Maurice did not act alone. He had a driver. Today, we will learn the interaction of 2 worlds, Topeka, Kansas, and Independence, Missouri. The coming together of these 2 worlds identified that driver, identified the man who lived in Topeka, owned and drove the black Mazda 626 with dark tinted windows, the man related by blood to Maurice, the man seated before you, James W. Griffin. The prosecutor takes a break. Now he says, "Did I start my argument backwards?" the prosecutor asked. "Yeah, I did. I switched their roles when I started the argument. I know the evidence shows that Maurice went in and James Franklin as the driver. So why did I switch their roles? Because under the law in the state of Kansas, as the responsibility of these crimes, there is no distinguishing between the 2 men. You're in for a penny, in for a pound. If either before or during its commission, you intentionally help or aid someone else to commit a crime, you are equally responsible for the crime, regardless of participation in actually carrying it out. Either before or during its commission, you intentionally help someone commit a crime, you are equally responsible. If you are in for a penny, you're in for a pound. In this case, James Griffin brought the gas and brought the matches. That was the opening statement in James Griffin's case. The state's theory is James drove his brother Maurice to Carlos O'Kelly's. In the early hours of Wednesday, he and his brother had an itch to commit a robbery. Something goes wrong. I'm not sure what besides considering this is the worst plan I've ever heard of to rob a restaurant, but Bob is shot regardless. But let's think about the state's theory for a case. And the state does have to prove a theory. This is guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, not guilty because we think you might have done it. Let's think about the state's theory, which is honestly not adding up. These two brothers wake up early to commit a crime. We will hear from other witnesses that disprove this, by the way, but whatever. They go inside a restaurant they have no connection to. Somehow, they know exactly where to find the safe. It's a crowded restaurant, by the way. There's a school field trip happening in the dining room. A giant school bus is out front, and they say, "Yup, this is the perfect crime today. This is the crime of the century. Let's rob Carlos O'Kelly's in the morning while a field trip's going on because we have no connection to this place, but hey, why not?" And they say, "Yep, this is the perfect crime." Even if we can assume, okay, these guys drove across town to rob Carlos O'Kelly's, this place has no connection to them. They walk in, they know where to find the office. They know they can walk right past the kitchen and no one's going to stop them. I'm sorry, if somebody walks into my place of work, I don't recognize them, especially a restaurant where you know your coworkers, you know who's supposed to come and who's supposed to go. They walk right in with a mask on and you're not going to say, "Hey, what are you doing here?" I don't think so. Then they ask for money. And when the guy goes to give them the money, they shoot him. They get no money out of this. This is the grand theory of the case. I know the state has to have a theory, but this sounds more like a fantasy to me. Are there any witnesses to the crime? There sure are. Next week on No Stone Unturned, we look at every eyewitness statement and the crime scene, and we try and figure out what actually happened here.